Hi, this is Jimmy from The Productive Engineer, and this video will be a beginner's guide to Todoist, so stay tuned. Todoist is an excellent service for task management. Its strengths include its rich integrations into third-party automation services like If This Then That and Zapier, as well as how simple it is to get started, yet how powerful it can be when you start using things like filters. Before we get started, this channel is all about productivity apps and services, um, whether it's Notion, Todoist, Things, Evernote, or any other app out there. Um, it's really about helping you get better at using these apps. If you like this video, please click the like button as it does help my channel. If you are interested in the content, please click the subscribe button. And if you want to be notified when I release new videos, please click the bell. Thanks. Okay, we're back. So when you first log into Todoist, it'll look a lot like what my screen looks like here. You have from a navigation standpoint, starting from left to right, we have the hamburger menu, which you can toggles on and off this panel. So if I click it, the panel goes away. If I click it again, it opens the menu. You can also press the letter M, as you can see here, as it tells you that to do that. And I'm doing that right now. You have a quick find, so you can search for search for any of your tasks based on keyword, tag, etc. And we'll get into that in a little bit. Excuse me, label. You got to use the right terms here. Labels are tags in Todoist. And then we can come down here in the left-hand panel, and the default dumping place for all tasks, and where a lot of tasks will start for you, is in your inbox. It's sort of a catch-all bucket for tasks. Um, tasks that typically don't have a due date assigned to them will end up in or a project assigned to them will end up in your inbox. After the inbox, we have the today tab, which all this really is a filter that filters all your tasks on whether they're due today. So today we don't have one. But if I go back to the inbox and I say this quick add task, let's say I schedule that for today. Now it shows up here as today. I click off of it. You see in here on the task itself inside the inbox, it shows today. And then when I click over here on today, now that task is there. Then we have the next 7 days, which shows you everything that's coming up in the next 7 days. Just another filter. And we'll get the filters a little bit in this tutorial. I'm actually going to be working on a much more in-depth review of filters in the future for Todoist in another video. And as you can see for today, there's a task. If I go back to the inbox and I schedule this second task here for, let's say, the 14th on a Tuesday, click off that. It shows Tuesday. And this is one of the things that's really cool about Todoist is that it actually understands like what day it is. So if it's within a week, it will actually, rather than just listing the date, it'll show you the actual day, which a lot of times we tend to think that way as humans anyway, right? We don't think, hey, this is due in 3 days or this is due on the 15th or whatever. We know, hey, if it's in that week, we know, hey, it's due on Tuesday, it's due on Thursday, whatever. So I think that's like a nice little touch that Todoist added here. So if I go into the next 7 days view, you can see that it gives you how many tasks are coming up in the next 7 days, just as a quick visual, which is another nice little touch that they've added. And then you come in here. If you look down here on Tuesday, I have this task, and then obviously today I have this task. So those are the views that you have, which is the inbox, and then the two filters, one for today, one for the next 7 days. You have this project section, and the way that Todoist structures its tasks is either you can have standalone tasks or you can have tasks that are part of a project. And project is exactly what it sounds like. It's a group of related tasks that you need to do to get to complete a broader goal. So you can define your own projects, and we'll do that later on in this video. They give you a sample here when you called the welcome project, and it shows you sort of what a project would look like. And we're going to create our own project in a little bit, but this gives you just an idea, a bunch of tasks in here with various icons and due dates. And then you have your archive projects, which is all the projects that you've chosen to archive. We don't have any, so that's why they're empty. And then these two bottom ones we're going to cover a little bit in this video and much more depth, each one in their own videos. One are labels, and labels are tags. You can actually literally see when I click on the drop down, you can actually see little tags. These are tags that I have for my system. So I can assign these tags. I can make my own tags. You can have multiple tags on a particular task in Todoist, and it makes searching much easier. So if you want to, and also for filtering, you can actually use as filter criteria, and that brings me to filters. Filters to me is the most powerful outside of the third-party automation pieces that you can do with Todoist, with like if this then that and Zapier. Filters to me is really the power of Todoist. It's so easy to get started into Todoist, as you probably can see. It's not a lot to it in the beginning, but with filters and labels and automation, you can really turbocharge Todoist. And we're going to cover a little bit of that in this video, and then some of the advanced concepts like labels, filters, and automation we'll cover in future videos. But filters, basically, you click down here, it comes with a handful of defaults. And then I'm gonna show you how to build a couple of basic ones later in the video. But basically, filters are, think of them as views of your ways to view your tasks. So you can, obviously, like today and the next 7 days are examples of filters, but those aren't the only ones. You can do ones that are only assigned to you, filters with certain priority, and then you can build filters that are combinations of multiple criteria, and that's when it gets really powerful. If you're familiar with OmniFocus, they have this thing called custom perspectives. And certainly that's a lot more powerful than what you can do here in Todoist, but it's the same kind of concept. You can create your own views of your tasks. Now let's take a deeper look at a task. So as you remember earlier, we created these two tasks, so we're going to kind of mess around with these ones to start. Uh, to open a task, just simply click on it, and it'll bring you up into the task view. The task view starts out with what folder it's in. I guess folders, maybe projects might be a better word. Um, and then here's the actual name, the title of the task. So if I want to change, I can just double click, and I can change it to my first edited task. Exclamation point. It has the due date here, which is today. Well, the day I'm filming this anyway. Hit save, and then as you see, it says today. And then we have um, projects. Um, so if I click on that, right now I only have two. Um, so I'll leave that alone for now. We'll get into projects in a little bit. Labels, if I click that, um, you'll see all the labels. To add a label to a task, you use the @ sign and then the name of the label. He wanted to say tags, sorry. Select an existing one or it adds a new one if it doesn't exist. And then priority, which is the flag. And you have four. Priority one's the highest priority. Priority four is the lowest priority. Everything defaults at priority four when you start, and then you assign your priorities. Um, tags, well, I did it again. Labels and um, labels and priority are your two primary, along with date, um, are two primary filter criteria, which you'll use when you build filter views later on. Reminders is the little clock. So you can click on that and set a reminder. Um, it's like I said, at 2 p.m. Eastern time. I can set that a reminder if I want. And if I add that, actually I shouldn't do that because it's 5 o'clock at Eastern time now. So let's say 7 p.m. And it understands what I typed because it has contextual understanding of that. and now that reminder is there. I can actually create another reminder for this again at 9 p.m. if I wanted, and now I have two. So if I'm really like, if you're one of those people that wants to get a task done and you have to remind yourself a couple times to get it done, you can have multiple reminders for the same task. I don't need a reminder, so you to delete them. You just click the little trash can right there, and you can X out when you're done. And then you have the ellipses, which gives you a couple other options. So when you click it, you can actually add comments via email. So if I were to click that, what it will do is it will forward an email to the address with a comment. So I can add comments and send them via email. I can copy a link to a task. So if I can click that, and then what happens is now that link is copied to my clipboard on my computer, and then I can include that in an email, or if I'm IMing with somebody or texting them, I can text them a link to that, and they can access it, assuming they have access to the account. Um, and then I can hide all completed subtasks. So if you're a person, sometimes you want to see all the tasks that you have and how many of them are complete and how many of them are still open. Sometimes you just want to see the open ones. If you just want to see the open ones, just click this for your subtasks, and we'll get into subtasks in a second. And then obviously you can delete your task. Now, when you create a task in Todoist, you can actually create subtasks, which I kind of referenced a couple minutes ago. So it actually creates a hierarchy because a lot of times, like you might have a master task like pack for vacation, and then your subtasks might be each of the individual items that you would pack for vacation, as an example. So actually, let's do that one. So we'll say vacation planning. Ugh. All right, and let's just change the due date to that to next week, and then I can add some subtasks just to make this fun. So let's say research travel locations, and we might schedule that for 21st. Add that tab. Then I might add book travel and schedule that for 2 days later. And we'll leave that for now, right? So now we have these two tasks. That are subtasks to this larger one. And then obviously I can, if I complete one, I can simply complete it by clicking in the thing, and now it shows up as the completed tasks. And then remember what we did earlier. If I save this, you can see I have one open task, one closed task, and then I can come in here, and if I wanted, I could hide my completed subtask, and now that's gone. Or I can come back in and I can show it, and there it is. If it's not complete yet, I can just unclick it, and it'll go right back into tasks that need to be complete. Then we have comments, and I can add notes to this, like down to Bahamas and Schenectady. Oh my God. I can't spell Schenectady, so Bahamas and London as final destinations. Don't ask me why I said Schenectady. I have no idea. I can add that as a comment, and I can put a little happy face emoji, and there it is. Um, and now it's in there. And then somebody else, if I ask this is a shared note, can come in and add comments. And then lastly, we have the activity. This is sort of the historic um, history log, if I can learn how to talk, of your task. So it will show you all the things that you did here. So I can set my due date, um, and then I can add a task. And then if I had really older history on it, I can keep going back. It'll load up more and more history. So right now we just create this task that there isn't any. So I can just keep clicking this forever, and it'll just not change the two things I've done to this. But if you had a task that was like, especially if you had a task with lots of subtasks, you could actually see a pretty significant that happened over a extended period of time. You could see everything you've done across that task. So we'll close that out. Now let's come to the second task here, and let's mess around a little more. So let's talk about projects. So let's say I wanted to create a project for task number 2, and let's call this task um, learn, no, become AWS Associate Certified. And AWS is Amazon Web Services. They offer certifications on managing their web infrastructure. Um, and associate's the lowest level of that, the first level of it. So you might have, you know, a task that's that, right? And you might want to create a project called um, career learning, right? And then as I type it in, if it doesn't already exist, it will create, it'll give you a little prompt that you can create it. I will say yes. Now it is part of that. And a couple of things will have happened. I'm going to close this out real quick. You will actually see that under projects, now I have this career learning project. And if I click on it, actually, I don't have the task in there because it didn't actually assign it. I created the task when you, this is, where is that task? Did I not save? Oh, because I didn't save it. You know what? I didn't save it, and that's why it's not. I didn't save my changes. So that's what happens. Become AWS certified. It actually showed a very important lesson that while when I came in here and added my project, which is career learning, that happens as soon as I type it in. It becomes something. But if I don't save what I did in the task itself, which silly me, I've been using Todoist long enough to know better. If I don't save it, any changes I made to the task go away. So I'll assign it, and now you can see it's assigned here as it has the little project icon, and then what project it belongs to. And if I hit save, now you should notice a couple of things happened. Number one, it tells me it moved it to that, and I can undo it if I want to. If I close this window, you'll come down here. If you look over here in the left-hand panel, Career Learning now has an entry, a task assigned to it, and it has become AWS certified. I think that doing it by Tuesday is a little aggressive, so we'll just move that out to June 19th as a random day. Now, please do not come back to me on June 19th and say, am I AWS certified? Because I probably won't be. Um, so there you go. And if I wanted to add another task and I wanted to learn about rich communication services, and I wanted to do that next week, because I'm already in the career learning project, it automatically assigns this task to that. So if I come here, you'll see it's automatically assigned. So that saves you a step. Hit OK. Now I have two of them. And if I go the next 7 days, you'll see that not only am I planning on vacation, but apparently I'm also learning about rich communication services on Monday. So I'll go back to that project. If I want to add another project, what I can do is I can come over here and just click Add Project. And I can call this blog, because I have a blog. And I'll assign it a project color to give it a little bit of differentiation in my project column. I'll do sky blue. I can make it a favorite, so I'll show you what happens when you do that. I click that, and if I hit add, you should see a couple things happen here. Number one, the project is created. If I can get my hand out in front of my mouth, my project is created. Number two, in the panel here, right underneath my two filters, I now have um, my project shows up in this sort of upper level space here of the left panel. This is where a lot of your favorites, this is where your favorites will show up. And then down here in the projects folder itself, it'll show up. And then what I can do once I'm in that project, I can do a variety of things. I can add a task. So I might say write blog post on Notion um, habit tracking, which might be writing a blog post on building a habit tracker inside of Notion, which is a productivity app. I can schedule that for maybe the 17th. It's already assigned to this project, so I don't have to worry about that. I can add a label. So if I have a blog label, which I don't, I could create that right here. Um, and I can toggle it on here. So remember, it's a two-step process. I created it, but I wasn't. If you notice, when I first created it, it didn't actually show it as checked off, which means it wasn't assigned to this task. So I actually click it, and now it is. I can come over here and add a priority. I might say this priority is a priority 3. It's something I want to get done by then, but if it doesn't, the house is going to be on fire. I can add a reminder. I might set that up for and then date and time or location. And this is you'll talk about location in a little bit, but if you're on one of the nice things is that Todoist is aware of location, so you can actually define a location, and then you can sit there and look at your recent locations, or you can type in a location. But I'm not going to do that here because I don't have any recent locations, and this is not really location dependent. So I can just say let's say next Thursday at 2 p.m. And let's see what that does. Smart. See, it understands natural language, and so it actually picks out the next day, Thursday, that's coming up, which is the 23rd, and at 2 p.m. So you hit add reminder. I already added it, so I can actually delete it by just doing next. I don't want it, and hit OK. And then here I can add a comment if I wanted to, or I have the ellipses, and I can add subtasks and parent tasks. So in the way you do that, so once I have this task, I can come in here and I can add my subtasks. I can also just come down in here and make this a subtask of this or back it out. So you can actually have multiple levels. So I can actually have a subtask of this, right? And say, do some research, really specific, right? I could create the next task could actually be a subtask of that subtask, which is really kind of cool. You got multiple levels of nested tasks. So this might be research habit trackers, tracking, um, play around with tables, play around with tables in Notion, right? And maybe when I'm playing around with tables, maybe I have a subtask of create linked database as an example of that table, right? And then I can take that and I can subtask that, hit OK, and now you can see I actually have the master task, a subtask, two subtasks of that task, and then one of these tasks has its own subtask. And you can go in and in and in. So very powerful. You can create structures like this. And one of the things you can do, because one of the things you probably think is like, if this gets super complicated, how do I replicate this if I have tasks that are common to this type of project? So, like in this blog project, I might have I write more than one blog post, right? Or else that'd be a really boring blog with only one blog post. So, but a lot of the steps I might take, like research, might be common across every time I sit down to write a blog post. So you can actually build templates, and I'm not going to show you how to do that here in this video, but I actually have a video which I'll link to up above on how to do this in Todoist. But really will save you time because, as you can see, you could get really intricate in terms of all the tasks in a project. There's the subtasks and subtasks of subtasks, et cetera, depending on how thorough you are and how you break things down. And having to replicate that over and over again manually would be a tremendous pain and would make it. And if it's really hard, if there's a lot of friction to doing something, you probably won't do it. I know that's the way I am. So by using templates, you can speed up your workflow and get things done a lot faster by getting a lot of the menial tasks done, literally. We're in task, you talk about to do is in task management. Um, Make it simple to get in, get going, and get working, which is ultimately the goal of these tools like Todoist and other productivity tools is to get you to do the work that you're actually looking to do. And using things like subtasking and using things like templates to build projects like tremendously reduces um, the latency between knowing you have to get something done and getting it done. So enough with that tirade, for lack of a better term. So we'll close this. You can actually bubble these up as well. So let's say I don't want to see all my subtasks, so I can just bubble that up, and now I just do some research. Because sometimes if you see, and this is really to me a mental health type of feature. If you have a lot of tasks, and then you know they have lots of subtasks, if I were to see every subtask of this, like obviously in this case it's not so bad, but if I had like a very long list and they all had subtasks and I had them all exploded out, it would become overwhelming. Whereas if I had it closed up and I might have five of these major tasks, and each of them might end up having like 20, 30 subtasks, depending on how complicated, how general this is, um, it makes it seem a lot more manageable, right? Because you want to be able to see each level of your project, and having it all exploded out is not always the best way to see it. So you can actually even close that out as well. So if you have like multiple master tasks in your project, you could do that, no problem. And that's how you use projects. There's one special thing you can do with projects that I haven't talked about yet, and that's called sections. You can actually add sections to your project to visually break it up. So as you can see here, I took the blog project we created earlier and I added a bunch of tasks to it, but there's no real structure to it. So as a result, it just looks like a list of tasks. Um, Being able to add sections will allow me to visually break this up in a way that makes sense logically. So what you do is you come down to the bottom of your list and you'll have this little add section um, line. You just click it, you give it a name, like the first one I'll use is research. And I'll click add section. And then what I can do is I can pull um, items down into it. So like I have research topic, and that can have sub bullets like it does here, or I could take those bullets. If I hit edit, I forgot you gotta hit edit first, and I can actually parent task them to make them their own task, and then edit this one, parent task, edit, parent task. So hit save. So now I have, as you can see, four tasks here. I could create another section and call this one writing. Hit OK. Oh, add task, excuse me. And come up here and I might take create outline, put that in there. I might take write rough draft, put that in there as well. I might create yet another section called editing, add section, and maybe take Grammarly, add that there. Then I might create a whole section for WordPress work. And then grab upload to WordPress, adding tables. That's not what I do over there. Did I get it in there? No, of course I didn't. Add images. Accidentally added. Not sure why it's doing that, but there we go. And write meta description. Somehow it made it a subtask. So we'll just edit that out to a parent task and hit save. And then I have, obviously publishing the blog post is also something I do in WordPress. And then I can take a couple of these here, like I can do social media as a new section. Add that in. And I can take the Pinterest pin and the Twitter. And then I can have another section that's wrap up, or wrap up. And then take my update, take the submit and update. Where did it go? It keeps doing that. I don't know why. It's probably just, which means it's probably me doing something wrong. And there you have it. So I can come over here, right? I can click here and say edit project. I can change the name from blog to um, Notion habit tracker post. And that's my project. I can add that to favorites. And now you can see it updates here. And then I can remove this because I don't really need it anymore. And now you can see I have a very nice section. Let me just make this a little bigger so you can see the whole thing. But you get the idea. Now I have this very nice project that is structured in the way I'd want. And now I'm going to quickly show you how you can export this as a template and then reapply it. So I'm going to come up here, excuse me, hit project actions, export as a template. And then I'm going to get a pop-up that says export as a template, export as file. It will become a CSV. And then I have that as a template. As you can see that here, it's actually a CSV file. And then what I can do is, let's say I wanted to create a new project. And I'll give this, let's call this Todoist um, filters post. And hit OK. Oh, I'll add the favorites. Hit OK. Let me add. And then rather than fill all that stuff in, what I can simply do is come over here to the ellipses, click on Project Actions, come down here to Import from Template, and then what I'm going to do is grab that file real quick. I'm going to drag it over, and now you can see this post has all that content. Now, some of this may change slightly, like play around with tables. That'll become something else. These two will become here, research, habit tracking will become research, filters. But the rest of this is basically the same. So actually it's exactly the same. So now I don't have to reproduce that. So it makes it very clean and easy to work on this um, um, using templates. Okay, so now we're going to talk about labels. And labels, as I said earlier, are tags in Todoist. So when you think of a label, think of a tag, because that's what it is. So I'm going to start adding show you how to add some tags, and then we're going to use some filters to search for those tags. So first, we're going to come in here. We're going to edit this research topic one. We're going to come down here to where it says add labels. We're going to come in here. Now, once we do that, we have a couple choices. We can pick one of the existing Like we can check blog because this is for a blog post. Um, I don't see any research in here. Um, research, actually, I do see it. Research. So I added those two tags. And I might want to give it a tag of Notion, but I don't have a Notion tag. Because if I start typing it, it isn't there, but I could, again, I could create it and hit create and tag it. And now you can see I have blog, research, and Notion as tags. I'll hit save. You have to hit save. And now what you'll notice is for this to do or task, you can see that the three tags are right here. I can click on that tag, and it will actually show me everything that I have in my in Todoist that has that tag, which is pretty cool. I'm gonna go back so you can see all of them. Here I might also let us come in here real quick. Why don't we come in here? You can actually, another way to add a tag is to just come into the title of it, hit at, and then just start typing that task. It's gonna be label or tag, whatever you want to, terminology you want to use, and click select it, and then you can do it again. Like I can do start typing blog, and again I could do maybe habit tracking as a tag, and it's not there, so I can hit enter. Actually, I can't hit enter. I thought I could. You have to click, come down here and click create it, and now it creates it. And then I might have my Notion tag. So that's a quick way if you're already typing your title, rather than have to come over here, and click add labels to add them individually. If you know your tags, or you just want to add your tags while you're giving it, writing in your task, you can just do it right there. Hit save, and there you go. And so now that we have a couple of tags, one of the things you can do is you can come up here, you can type and the at symbol. Excuse me, I don't know why I say and the at symbol, and right away it knows that you want to search for a tag. So you can do research, right? And if I do that, it'll bring up research. And if I click that, okay, so we did at research. Now maybe we want to search instead for blog. Come there, enter, and now everything that has blog is there. Now, that's great for searching, but what if you want to always have a view? Like, I can go to today or the next 7 days and see my content in here. Um, what if I want to always have a view, much like these, that I can do that with? So, where you do that is in filters. So, you come down here to filters and you click add. You give it a name. So, I want all filters that are research, and the query is at symbol research. We'll give it a color of teal. We'll add it to our favorites. Click add. And now you notice that I have this thing here, this little like water drop. If I click that, there it is. Here and edit it, edit filter. And let's say I wanted to change this and I actually want to look for blog instead. I can do the same thing. I'll add it to favorites so we can see it. And there's blog. I click on blog, and it also has those two. I went offline and added some context to a couple of the research items because I wanted to show off the power of filters real quick. So let's say I wanted to make a filter that showed me only P1 and P2 priority um, to-dos that are research oriented. So what I could do is come down here to filters. I can hit the plus button. I'll give it a random color. I'll go grape. We'll call this P1, comma P2 research. And I'll say, the way I write that query is parenthesis P1, the orbs bar, P2, close parenthesis, and at symbol research. And I'm going to add it to favorites so we can see it real quick. And click add. And now if I go up here, I can see you can see that this is priority one and it has the research tag. And this one, if you edit it, has a priority two. So as you can see, I can actually take these two, combine it with, figure out the priority and using a combiner and research. Now, let's say we go into this, and that's for this, that I did that for this. But let's say I went into Notion Tracker, and let's say I made this also have a priority one, and I gave it the research tag and saved it. Now, if I go back to my filter, now you see I have the two that I have for the Todoist filters post project, as you can see here, but I also have this one for this research project. So filters allow you to really sort of cut up and slice your data in this case being your tasks, any way you want. So in addition to things like priority and tag, you could also say, I could come down here, I could create another filter that is the same, but let's say I only want P1 or P2, right? And research, right? But now I just want the Todoist filters post. Of course, it would help if I put that down here, hit add. If I come down here to the bottom, that one only has these two. It only has the ones that have the Todoist filters post. But if I come up here, this one has three, right? Because it includes the Notion post. So you can really, again, it's really cool to be able to manipulate what you see. Because a lot of times you go in and you want to get something, you want to see things that only are a certain priority, that are within a certain date range, that are associated with a certain project or associated with a certain tag, right? Excuse me, label. I will someday call tags in Todoist labels, but I don't think today is that day. So it really becomes very powerful. And I'm going to make a video in the future that goes soup to nuts on filters and all the cool things you can do. But I just want to give you a sample of some of the things you can do. So I hope you liked this video. I know it was a very long video, so if you stuck it out with me, that's awesome. Please leave me some comments on how you thought this course was. And if you have any feedback, I would love to hear it. I do respond to my comments, so if you leave me a comment, I will write back. If you liked this video, please click the like button, as again, it does help me out. And as well as you really can subscribe, that would be awesome. Because I'm really trying to build my channel. And if you want to be notified when I release new videos, just click the bell. Thanks.